It all started with flashing police lights reflecting off the water and a silver Lexus half sunk in the pond. The woman behind the wheel, Karen, was screaming at the top of her lungs, blaming me for everything. "This is your fault. Your stupid fence made me crash," she yelled, drenched and furious. I stood there calm, watching her world collapse. The officer looked at her and said quietly, "Mom, you cut that fence yourself. 4 days earlier, I'd moved into this quiet lakeside neighborhood with my daughter, Emma. I thought we'd finally found peace. The mornings were beautiful. The water shimmered and the neighbors seemed kind, except one. Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA. The day we arrived, she showed up at our door, clipboard in hand, listing her rules like commandments: fence height, mailbox color, even how long our trash bins could stay outside. I smiled politely, trying not to make waves. She smiled too, but it was the kind of smile that hides sharp teeth. At first I thought she was just nosy. Then I caught her measuring my fence. "It's half an inch too high," she said, her tone dripping with authority. "You'll get a violation notice." I said I'd fix it. She smirked. "Oh, I'm sure you will." Days later, she was back with a flashlight at midnight inspecting my yard. My daughter woke up scared, saying, "Mom, she's out there again." That's when I installed cameras. Nothing fancy, just for safety. The next day, an HOA notice appeared on my door. Unauthorized surveillance system violation. I realized she wasn't enforcing rules. She was obsessed with control. I went to the police, but they brushed it off. The next morning, I walked outside and froze. My security fence had been cut clean through. Karen stood across the street with that same fake smile. "Maybe now you'll learn how we do things here," she said, turning away like nothing happened. I took a photo, filed another report, and waited. 2 nights later, the rain came hard. The pond swelled, the ground turned to mud. Around midnight, headlights appeared again. It was Karen, speeding down the street in her shiny Lexus. Maybe she was trying to prove something. Maybe she was just angry I didn't bow down. But she didn't see what was right ahead. The gap where she'd cut my fence. The tires slipped. A screech, a crash, and then the sound of metal hitting water. The Lexus disappeared into the pond. Neighbors came running. I called 911. When the officers arrived, they pulled her out, shivering, furious, humiliated. "She set me up," she yelled, pointing at me. The officer simply said, "We have video proof, ma'am. You destroyed that fence yourself." And that was it. Her power ended right there in the cold water she'd earned. The next morning, the HOA sign came down from her yard. The neighborhood felt different, lighter, free. People I'd never spoken to started saying hi. One man told me, "We were all scared of her. You did what none of us could." I smiled, not because she'd fallen, but because the fear she spread was finally gone. A week later, the HOA voted to remove her permanently. They made new rules, fair ones this time. Emma drew a picture of our house with a big, safe fence and taped it to the fridge. That night, I sat on the porch watching the moon ripple across the pond, the same pond where everything changed. And I realized, sometimes justice doesn't need a courtroom. It just needs a moment of truth. Karen spent months trying to tear me down, but in the end she destroyed herself. Maybe that's how karma works. It doesn't rush. It just waits for you to step into your own reflection. And for anyone listening to this, remember, never let people who crave control decide your peace. Some fences are meant to keep the bad energy out, and sometimes they save your life.